evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Yes, what's going on later on? Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. But you know what? We're getting in before then. We'll lead you up to the debate for those that are going to watch them. Anyways, my name is Scott Morgan, Ross Motor City Mad Mouth. Pleased to have you all with us tonight. I have a great show lined up. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys in more ways than one. We'll talk about the Matthew Stafford trade revisited. That's what we titled the show. And of course, we're going to talk about guaranteed college football games. If there's any other stuff I can incorporate in that time frame, I'll do it. But those are the three main topics. With that said, Coach Bono to the top. Welcome back.
Great to be here, Scott. What's up, Bo?
Travis Holmes.
Travis.
There you go.
Hey,
I salute you too, Travis. Bo knows football. Bo knows the Daily Show. Bo knows a lot. And last but not least, the running back, well, hand the rock to, don't worry about it, Mel Farr Jr. Welcome back to the big
fellas. Hey Travis,
right.
did you think I didn't check my facts before that little, about the little transfer portal?
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska and Colorado. That's all right. We'll talk about it another time.
Oh,
yeah. Hello, everybody.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a lot of football tonight. Get you all ready. Hello, Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. Good stuff. Glad to have you in here. All right, let's get right to it. Okay. The fastest 35, 45 minutes in sports. And the fast talker himself. Anyways, Dallas Cowboys became the first sports team to crack the $10 billion mark. But with that said, okay, here's the thing. I'm tying it to Dak Prescott. Will Dak Prescott be able to deliver a Super Bowl title with his record-setting contract, which I believe is what, Bo, $231 million guaranteed, $240 total to go along with what he has? Correct me on the numbers unless I'm on target, Bo.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, so averaging out to $60 million a year.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty good money if you can earn it. So with that said, since I had Bo on here, here's the thing. We all know I'm not going to talk about the Cowboys with their $10 billion cracking that plateau mark, but the main question is, will Dak Prescott deliver the Super Bowl title? And that, you don't need a record contract to do it. The guys come up short in big games, but I'm taking myself out of it and I'm putting Bo in there. Will he live up to his contract?
I mean, no. He wasn't able to do it with a stacked roster before his contract hurt his team. After this year, they're going to have a lot of decisions to make. Not only are they going to probably be switching coaches, but there's going to be a lot of change moving forward. So does he get paid? Sure. Is his best chances for winning a Super Bowl behind him? Probably. Historically, quarterbacks that make up over 14% of the cap don't end up winning a ring, and he's going to be more than that.
Okay, Travis, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of pretty much it. Like, I don't know how. I don't see a foreseeable future where Dak Prescott with this roster and this coach has the time, frankly, to become the team that they need to be to win a Super Bowl. I mean, he's 31 years old. I mean, like, you got guys out here like Aaron Rodgers, who's at, what is he, 39? At this point, like, you have guys who are older who can still play at a moderately high level. And I think Dak is definitely in that category of guys where he's going to be able to put up some solid numbers. But you asked specifically for the Dallas Cowboys. Had you asked me, hey, if he gets traded somewhere else and maybe a better roster where that has a better supporting cast, something where you can truly establish the run, yeah, I could see that absolutely, because that would give you enough good game. But you're talking about for the Dallas Cowboys, who realistically have a pretty nice side. They're going to have a nice little rebuild ahead of them and not a lot of money to do it. I don't see that path.
Coach.
Yeah, that's a great take by both. By both Bo and Travis. I agree. The thing that I've seen happen over and over is, you overpay a small nucleus of players. You still got to, you still have to have quality starters at other positions. I mean, I know we're going to talk about it later on in the show, but I look at the Rams. They got themselves in huge cap trouble. Bringing over Stafford, it was a quick quick fix for a very short term, but now that's caught up with them. I see the same thing happening in Dallas. Unfortunately, there's not many players that are good enough to just carry the whole team on their own. It's going to be Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and then who else? So I just think they obviously think a lot of them paid them a boatload of money, quality player, but in the end, I think it hurts them.
Well, I guess when your franchise is valued at $10 billion, what's 231, 240 million more? Big deal. All right, with that. Now I'm talking about not you, coach. I'm just talking about the contract and the 10 billion. All right, Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, if they didn't have a salary cap, that'd be great. But because
Right.
they do have a salary cap, it gives everybody kind of a level playing field. It becomes problematic. But, I was listening to the broadcast yesterday, and they're talking about Kyle Shanahan and how they pay their players. And they say they're going to pay the players who score the touchdowns. That's who they're going to pay. And so if you look at what the Cowboys have done, they paid CD. They paid Dak. Dak was just the next one up. I mean, that's why he got the money. I mean, let's be realistic. It was his turn. He got what he deserved. I'm not mad at Dak at all. But also you have to understand that there's 53 guys on this roster. And so it's not Dak's responsibility to bring a championship to Dallas. It's the team's responsibility to bring a championship to Dallas. Let's be honest. They look pretty impressive. Even Zeke Elliott looked like, he looked a couple years younger than what he is. I mean, he looked a little slimmer in that number 15 than he did in 21. It looked like he might have backed away from the table a little bit because when he was there before with that beard and all that hair and stuff like that, he looked a little chubby. He looked quick. I mean, he hurdled the guy. I mean, he looked good. Hey, let's be honest, he looked good. Defense is going to play the lights out. We know Michael Parsons is going to get paid by getting this contract done with Dak. They've actually probably created more cap space now so they can get a deal done with Micah Parsons in the offseason. So the key is going to be, and they've done this pretty well, is to draft and develop. And they're going to have to draft guys on that offensive line and develop them. That offensive line did not look very good. They're going to have to get coached up, but they can. I mean, that's why you pay the coaches the type of money that you pay them is to coach them up. Shanahan, San Francisco, they don't have a very expensive offensive line other than the left tackle, right tackle, other than Trent Williams. That's the only expensive guy they have there. But other than that, the rest of the guys, they're inexpensive guys. They're just plug and play pieces. They fit what it is that they're trying to do. So you have to find players that fit what you're trying to do, just like they did in the running back position. They're the ones that ruined it for the running back. They find players that fit that scheme. They got an undrafted guy there now from Georgia Tech, and who's Christian McCaffrey? Who? I mean, who misses Christian McCaffrey? I mean, this guy played very, very well. Christian McCaffrey better get well soon, otherwise he might find himself on the outside looking in. But can he do it by himself? No. But can he do it as part of a team? Yeah, they can do it. Dallas, I mean, let's be honest, they look pretty good.
All right. Well, the only thing I'll say about Dak Prescott and Travis Knight, and I saw it firsthand when Jacksonville beat Dallas, and they came back to do it. Dak Prescott, in my opinion, not yours, invents ways to lose football games. He invents ways to lose football games, okay? So if it isn't this, it's that. If it isn't this, it's that. And you know what? I have a lot of body parts, okay, for me, okay, that are going bad. I know my eyes aren't very good, but I didn't have these strong glasses when I saw that Dallas laid an egg to Jacksonville over in Jacksonville. So I will say it one last time. No, this is not Dan Marino where I can lose my voice and go really ballistically through. Dak Prescott invents ways to lose games, period. Onward we go.
Well, right. And that's why they looked good right now, because it's week 1 and it's when they still know how to play football.
Exactly. And not only that, if Ezekiel Elliott looks a whole lot better, sure, he went to New England, okay, couldn't win up there. Then again, nobody was able to last year. But he got humbled. He's on the verge of he's holding on to stay in the National Football League. So you better eat a few less Big Macs, and you better start getting in the weight room, because I got.
Well, we're all older, right? Like we're all. I'm not gonna say we're not old, but we're all older, right? And right. We've all played events. Well, that first day we go out, we feeling real good. We feeling the best. Like I'm in the best shape of my life, and then let's see what it looks like by week 16 when a whole season of NFL accidents have hit this team, and will these old guys be still filling up to it, and would they look as spry as they looked in week 1? Like, I feel like that's a legitimate concern.
So we have
Toby
so we
Keith,
have the
I'm as good once as I ever was.
so we had the tale of two playmakers. One advanced ways to lose games, and the other one had to go ahead and get rid of Big Mac because he was too cotton picking chubby, and he was on the downside of his career. So I'm not giving the Arch any publicity. I'm just talking about the worst burger you can eat so you can battle the Bulls and lose. That's all.
I got you, but this is a very high bar for Dak Prescott. I mean, you put him into it. This is a no-win situation for him because he's unlikely to win a Super Bowl. I'm not going to put him in the box and say he's not going to win a Super Bowl, but he's unlikely to, based on the circumstances surrounding him. But also, all the oldest quarterbacks who actually did win Super Bowls were all like true NFL greats. I mean, you're talking Tom Brady, 43 years old. You're talking Peyton Manning at 39, and he did that after having to go to a different team. You're talking Johnny Unitas. You're talking John Elway. He's the only one who actually did it on his original team. If you're not talking like John Elway and Brady, that's it. So most of these guys aren't going to be able to get the contracts that Dak Prescott got and still be able to have teams built around him. That's just not normal. Not in this NFL.
Okay, well, let's go on to the next subject here as we continue to progress here with the broadcast, revisiting the Matthew Stafford trade. This one has Herschel Walker, Minnesota, written all over it. Cowboys, how they swindled them. Herschel Walker, once upon a time, for those that remember him, they got a big return on investment. But, let's face reality. The Rams got Matthew Stafford. And what did the Lions get for it? They got Jared Goff, not bad. Jameson Williams, 2022, number 12 overall, pretty good. Josh Pascal, 2022, number 46 overall. Ifitu Melifonwu, not bad. I worked on that pronunciation all day. In 2021, number 101 overall. Jameer Gibbs, 2023, 12 overall. Sam Laporta, 2023, number 34 overall. And Broderick Martin, 2023, 96 overall. The only one that isn't here right now is Jimmy Johnson, who swindled the Viking, but Brad Holmes, I'll tell you one thing, he didn't do too bad against his old team. Let's keep in mind, Goff is 2-1 versus Stafford, has 2 playoff wins. Stafford didn't have any with Detroit. And on Sunday night, we all know the Lions ended up winning against the Rams 26-20, where David Montgomery ran the ball down their throat. Keeping on point, okay, we're going to go with you, Mel. Matthew Stafford trade revisited. How did this one turn out? Who got the best of it?
Well, I mean, obviously right now it looks like the Rams got the best of it because they got a Super Bowl. Now, if the Lions are able to take advantage of this window that they're in right now, where they still have their offensive coordinator, then it's a toss-up. But just looking at it initially, the Rams got the better end of the deal. But I think Lions fans, and I'm one of them, I think we're happy where we're at right now. I think Matthew Stafford had taken us as far as he could take us, and sometimes you have to you have to part with an asset to gain some additional assets. And I think the Lions were able to do that. They were very smart in doing that. And obviously Brad Holmes, he had a little bit of inside knowledge on Jared Goff when they put together his trade. I think he believed in him. I think Sean McVay probably did not. And he knew what type of quarterback he could become if you put the right pieces around him. And I think, this year is going to be a telling year. And I think, if the Lions are able to win a championship this year, then I think it's a tie, really. It's a push.
Okay. Fair enough. Travis?
Well, I mean, to Mel's point, I think it's sort of one of those situations where you kind of have to say both teams won. The Rams got the Super Bowl. They won it out of this, and they mortgaged the future to do it. I mean, we've seen some of the effects of them, pushing that ball down the road. They end up having to get rid of a lot of the main guys from their defense, and they're still trying to duct tape and paste this thing together with a lot of the younger guys, but that they're forced to because they mortgaged the future. However, Detroit went from being, I don't want to call them a bottom dweller, but I think that would honestly be an apt description of what they were. They were down there with the Cleveland Browns. They were down there with my Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm just going to call it what it is.
Right.
To now being a truly respectable, maybe even above average, like solid NFL football team that'll punch you in the mouth and has an identity. Like
Right.
that's saying something to the fact that the Detroit Lions ownership feels like that they can charge the highest, one of the highest ticket prices in the NFL, and people are happy about it. I mean, honestly, yeah, Detroit ownership is loving this trade, and so are the people for the Rams overall. And I think the contract's even better for as far as the money is concerned. I'm sorry, it's actually better for the Lions because Stafford was already a legend at the bank, making more money when he got traded away. So overall, I think everybody kind of has to love it. But if you're Detroit, you're going from historically bad to being a really dang good team really quickly based on almost solely that one trade. So I think you might have to give the edge to Detroit just in that thought process.
Okay, no, that's fine. I like that. Okay, Bo, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, everybody makes a good point. As it sits today, the Rams, I feel like, win just because it's a results-based thing, right? So they got a ring. It worked. Now, if the Lions can parlay all of these moves into finally getting a ring or maybe getting two, obviously they win. But if, again, results-based, if they don't end up winning it all, you have to think that even with all the talent that they got and being a consistent, performer, without the hardware, it doesn't matter, right? So, because nobody remembers the teams that were in the playoffs. So you're like, oh, yeah, they were kind of good that year. You're like, oh, no, I remember who won the Super Bowl that year, right? So, as it sits today, I think the Rams have won this trade, but we still have years to let this thing play out.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like a push. I think the last time we talked about this, I said I gave the edge to the Rams because of the Super Bowl. I still feel that way. But when I look at these two franchises, and I know the game on Sunday night was, it was an overtime game, but it just felt like, especially the way it ended, it felt like the Lions were a much better team. Credit to the Rams for hanging in there and keeping it close and all of those things. But, the Lions got a lot of players, and the Lions have a culture now. And, a lot of that, big credit that goes to them finding the right coach and Matt Campbell. But I do think Brad Holmes has done a great job with that roster and drafting players and bringing in the right type of personalities that will fit with Matt Campbell. And, to Travis's point, I think you have to look at the Lions now, and they are legitimate. They're contenders now, and they haven't been that. Even when we did have Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson, they were never a franchise that you truly considered a contender. And a lot of that had to do with, Green Bay just being so dominant in that division, having a seamless transition from, Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to, elite Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. And, I think it's more than just the golf. And I think it's more than just the comparison between Goff and Stafford. I think Goff is a good fit there. I was there his last year in LA, and McVay did want to get rid of him. I won't go into all the reasons why and that sort of thing, and that's not a slight on Goff. I think it's sometimes the marriage just doesn't work and people get tired of one another. And I think that's what happened. I think McVay wanted a change. The change was obviously good for Goff. And I'm really, really happy for Jared Goff.
Let's do the math. Lions get 7 players. The Rams get 1. I was joking around with some friends that I would have made the Stafford trade for Goff straight up. But that's why I'm sitting here with you guys and not a general manager, because I might as well just go ahead and take it. my favorite show, Hogan's Heroes, and say, I'm Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing. Of course, especially when it came to that trade, because I'd have done it straight up. But 7 players. I mean, you think about the particulars. Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Jameer Gibbs, along with the other ones you just mentioned. So, yeah, I think it's a push only because of the Super Bowl. But you know what? The reality is Stafford wasn't going to be a part of rebuild, and Jared Goff got a fresh start. Now, if you talk about which significant others are better, prettier, I think that one's a push too, because I got news for you. Christian Harper is a baby doll with that Sports Illustrated swimsuit stuff. Kelly Stafford isn't so bad either. So there you got a little bit of the significant other. Got to add a little bit of humor to the big show. But really, but this trade reminded me, if the Lions win a Super Bowl, then it does remind me more of Dallas Cowboys versus and the Minnesota Vikings, because you traded Herschel Walker for a bunch of players, one of which turned out to be Emmitt Smith. And we all know how that went out, right? And you had Jimmy Johnson playing in the role of Brad Holmes. And so, I like the particulars. Goff gets a fresh start. Stafford didn't want to be there. So, I'll take it, Goff. No big deal. And all we'll do is stick him with a first-class offensive coordinator. How did that work out, right? So, it's pretty interesting. Now you have a little bit of a rivalry between the Lions and the Rams based on 3 games. Goff loses in his return to L.A. Stafford comes to Detroit. He loses twice. And who knows how many more times they're really going to play each other anyway, because Stafford's getting up there. I don't know if he's got 1 or 2 more years left. Time will tell. But it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing plays out. Nevertheless, I'm going to turn over to Candy Abley with a station break. Go ahead, Can.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to us, please do so. We published a book back in November. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple and Google Books. Get your copy today. You can also find a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you will also find a link to our merchandise store. Go get yourself a South Florida Tribune baseball cap or a sweatshirt today. There's also great content on the website, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to advertise, call Scott, 954-304-4941. Back to the program.
Thank you, Candy. All right, well, we're going to go on to one college football topic. I'm looking forward to the rants, and if I have another topic we'll get to, but rants in this day and age, if you haven't seen the last few episodes, are becoming classic, and I got to make sure that we allow them because they are good. So with that said, last topic, we're talking about guaranteed football games. Montana State, get this, folks, was paid $360,000 to play New Mexico on the road in week 0. I guess that's what they're calling it these days. And they won 35-31. We're talking about an FCS school that got paid $360,000 to go to New Mexico. Get that, 35-31. Oh, but we got one even way better than that. And again, mind you, folks, I'm not a math guy. All I do is just read the numbers and let you process them. How about Northern Illinois going into Notre Dame and beating the Irish 16-14? But here's the thing. For a short distance, Northern Illinois to South Bend, Indiana, Northern Illinois gets paid $1.4 million to beat the Irish. So, Coach, you were in college football. I want you to give your overview about the compare and contrast to these guaranteed games, because I know one amount seems like it's 3 or 4 times more than the other. Obviously, New Mexico's not paying out like Notre Dame, but why don't you size up both of these 2 guaranteed games anyways, Coach?
Well, obviously, going into Notre Dame can afford that. They could afford to pay Northern Illinois $5 million. The good thing about those games in the MAC, if you're going to play up and you can be like Northern Illinois, where they took a bus to South Bend, so they probably saved themselves $100,000 on a charter flight. I mean, that was always a factor. We'd take a little bit less money to go and play Michigan State or somebody in the Big Ten where we didn't have to fly. And just for, when I took my Central Michigan Chippewas down to Stillwater and knocked off Oklahoma State, just for reference, and so understand what the finances are like in the Mid-American Conference, where you throw quarters around like manhole covers. the plane that we flew down there on, I am not exaggerating, still had ashtrays in the armrests. So that just tells you a little bit about what the travel conditions are like when you're in the MAC. So that's a huge program win for Northern Illinois. That's going to be remembered for ages. Those players that played in that game, they will live with that, and they'll carry that with them forever. You could see how much it meant to their head coach. He's a grad and alumni. Just really happy for them. Look, I'm a proud product of the Mid-American Conference. I'm going to always pull for all of those teams. Really, really, really fired up and excited for the NIU Huskies.
Okay, and of course you have the Montana State game where it's an FCS school beating New Mexico. You still have the game out there, and for an FCS school to beat a Division I, that's happened a lot. Nothing but 360 G's. I think they got a little bit underpaid for that. Let's go to the chat room real quick. Blows, good evening. Good to have you on the Back It Up Binge podcast. Good evening, Bo, gents. There you go. I guess one of your people, Bo. Thank you very much. Back It Up. And if you would kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, we appreciate that too. But thanks for being on tonight's show. And of course, Blows talks about how about that UCF win, Travis. They all know how to get to Travis here when they talk about UCF. Travis has got that smile all the way down from here to Alaska when you stroke him with UCF. All right. With that said, Mel, what are your thoughts about these two games? Yeah, come on. Everybody's got to play off UCF. Hey, I'm USF, but I'm not going to brag about it compared to what you had.
Nothing to brag about. All right, go
exactly. That's my point. So, Mel, go ahead. Comment on these two guaranteed games. We're going to get to rants in a moment after I provide an FYI. All right. Floor is yours, Mel. Both games.
You're muted.
You're muted. I didn't take lip reading courses. If I did, I'd probably flunk them.
My apologies. I think we kind of talked about this last week. They're good for that lower division school, but you have to be very careful. Again, like I was saying, we were talking about the Miami, and they were going to play FAMU. And you have to be very careful because you're dealing with 17, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. You don't know where their head is at. And then sometimes with these coaches, you may not know where their head is at. They, usually, for the most part, kids follow leadership, but there are some cases where, when you're at a school like Notre Dame, they're not even thinking about Northern Illinois. They're already on to the next game, whatever game that was, because for them to play the way that they played the first two games and then go out there and lay that egg the way they did against Northern Illinois, that just tells you a lot. That tells you that they were not focused on the opponent that they were playing that particular week. And again, like I said, you're talking about 17 to 20, 21-year-old kids. You just don't know where their head is at. They're already off to the next game, or who knows where their head is. And in some cases, like I said, the coaches may have been off to the next game as well. They weren't really dialed in the way that they needed to be on their opponent this week, just kind of taking advantage, just thinking, oh, man, we're just going to go ahead and just, we're going to boat race these guys. And it didn't happen. After the kickoff, they got hit in the mouth. They're like, okay, all right, we're in a fight here. And then, unfortunately, they just they didn't have enough in the end. And it's great for a program like Northern Illinois. I had a buddy of mine that I played against in high school. He went to Northern Illinois. He was a quarterback there. This was a long time ago. And the first thing I thought about when I saw that score was to reach out to him and congratulate him. And he's grinning from ear to ear, man, smiling like a mule eating biscuits. I mean, he just can't be. He's just like a proud papa. So, that's great because those memories, these kids will never forget that. Going in to Notre Dame, which is that's one of the great college atmospheres in all of college football. You sit back there, you see touchdown Jesus over the top, just peering over the top of the stadium. It just doesn't get any better than that. Have an opportunity to be able to tell that tale, and the tale will get longer, to their kids and their grandkids, and then hopefully their great grandkids. But this story will continue to be told no differently than the App State upset over Michigan. I mean those are big deals. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for those programs. And it's a big deal for those kids that participate in those games.
Yeah, as far as Montana State, don't sell those teams in Montana short. They have some pretty good. They play some pretty good football up there, right, Coach?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they really do. All right, well, let's go back to Blake. Question for the group: do any of y'all watch Scott's Hockey Show on Mondays? It's great. Well, let me tell you, I can answer that for these guys. They thought that the one last week was classic. Okay, so they did have a chance to watch one show for sure, Blake, and they thought it was classic, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, they have their reasons why they think it was classic, but we'll go from there. So, with
Hmm.
that said, Travis, what are your thoughts about these two football games?
I mean, it's a great situation for, well, anytime you can get an FCS school and an FBS school to play against each other, you're almost always going to expect the bigger school to win, because I mean, offensive line play and recruiting are major advantages. That's why these teams get paid so much dang money. And in this individual situation, like we were talking about, like the Montana State, they end up finding a way to win basically off the fact that the goodness gracious, the New Mexico team is just not, they don't have the trenches. They don't have so if you have an FBS school and an FCS school, but the FBS school does not have any meat in the trenches, you might be on like level playing ground at that point. Like you legitimately, like, because the difference between old school Division I and Division II, like I speaking from experience, I played Division I at UCF. I played Division II at Northern Michigan University for a year. Like, so I'm speaking from experience. It's not so wild. Like there are some of these guys who can absolutely play in Division I, who are playing in Division II for grade situations, for just they want to be closer to home. It could have been discipline of so many different other reasons. So when you start talking about some of the skill guys, hey man, this thing might get a little bit tight if you don't have those guys in the trenches, and that's exactly what it came down to. And I would even argue on the Northern Illinois versus Notre Dame game, that one was a little bit different. Just to Mel's point earlier, you don't know where these kids' heads are. You don't know if they've been coached up well. It's early in the season. You don't know if they were just simply being overranked based on who they are and what they lost from the previous season. So the fact that both of these teams can, both of these organizations and schools can make budget and get a win at the same time and help their recruiting, like we talked about last week, hey man, this is a great situation for them. Sucks for the big schools, but you know what? For the most part, they'll live, unless you are someone like New Mexico, who maybe your program's already teetering. We'll see what happens there.
Well said. Okay, Bo, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to add to that, really. I mean, it's great for the small schools to get that shot. Obviously, they get the payday, and then of course, if you can come in and steal a win, that's huge for that school, right? Like they get to circle the fact that they took down Notre Dame. And if you're on that squad, you got that. Yeah. So I'm not mad at it. It's great all the way around. Obviously, for the big school, that's a tough one. Makes you think they were probably looking past it, but if anything, it should be a great reminder. Always be looking at the next one on your schedule.
Well said. The only thing I'll add to this thing is, I'd like to get to Notre Dame. It's on my bucket list to see a game over in South Bend with Notre Dame. I've seen Notre Dame play elsewhere, but not there. So with that said, I just have a quick FYI, then we're going to rants. I enjoy these rants so much that they become a good part of the show. Jets 49ers game on Monday Night Football, big numbers, 20.5 million viewers. The second most watched Monday Night Football matchup, week one in ESPN's 19-year history of airing on Monday Night Football. We don't need any commentary from you guys. This is some numbers I wanted to put out there as an FYI information 101. All right, well, Joshua Door's in here. Welcome, Josh. What's going on? External Bum. Yeah, that's a show that Ralph and I are on Saturdays at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Well, now it's part of the most enjoyable part of the show is the rant. So we have to start off with Mr. Rant himself, Coach Bono.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with and everybody knows mine from the group chat, but these games that are being played overseas, we had one in Brazil, right? We've got the London games coming up. I think there's another game in Germany this year. The league talks about wanting to expand and all of that stuff. They need to, and I don't really, this is truly a rant because I don't know what the answer is. The issue is always with these soccer stadiums is the footing on the grass. And the reason why, just so everybody understands it, those those stadiums, they spend a lot of money for those to get those fields ready to play soccer. And unlike our game, they want that field surface to be slick. They want that ball to be able to glide over the top of the grass. I think, when you look at soccer players themselves, this isn't just a generality, but they're typically smaller, or you don't have as many big bodies. And what happens in the cultivation of that grass, the grass is normally kept shorter, but they can try to grow it longer, but it doesn't have the root system. That's why you see, players changing their shoes during the game. Shoot, Scott, you sent me a clipping from one of the players. I can't remember who it was talking about it was the worst surface he's ever played on. Well, so I don't know if it, I don't know what the answer is. Obviously you can't like tear up the whole field, but there's got to be some maybe artificial surface stadiums in Europe, or maybe I don't know, but it's going to become an issue the more they play over there. It's only a matter of time till somebody loses a marquee player because of the field, because of the field, and I think it typically, my experience is, what I've seen is it affects the bigger players more than the smaller guys. But bigger, I'm just saying, even tight ends, linebackers, it's only a matter of time before a marquee player gets seriously injured playing in one of these games, and then what's the league going to do? Because again, one of my criticisms about the NFL is it's a bottom line business. They care more about the money. I think they do care about player safeties, but they care about the money more. Otherwise they wouldn't put the players on the surface like that. You would not.
That's really a PA issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Coach, I mean, the PA, we have the worst players association in all of the American sports, and that's really the PA to get involved in, so that they don't put the players in that type of situation. Hey, we're not going to do this unless they spend the necessary money in order to make these fields exactly the way that they are here in the States. I mean, if the Olympics, if they can change the where Indianapolis plays, and they can put 2 or 3 swimming pools in there, they can figure out a way to make these fields proper and make them right for these players. Because like you said, somebody's going to get hurt. You remember when Philadelphia, I mean, they had that stadium. It was so terrible. I remember a guy, man, tore both his ACLs on the same play.
Right. I mean, the old Veterans Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it's going to take is for somebody to really hurt themselves, tear up a groin or something like that because they're slipping and sliding on the surface. But that's a PA issue. The NFL is not going to do it.
And you're right. Because it comes up every single time. Every single time any teams go over there, it's the same thing. Now, that's why you kind of give the Jaguars, they've carved out a little niche for themselves, right? They're going over there for 2 games a year every year. They're giving up a home and away game. That's a big time to their advantage. They're there for 2 straight weeks. They know that's going to happen. They're doing it year after year. They're ready for it. They're figuring the shoe thing out. But still, you're exactly right. They have the money. They could pull pull one of those fields up and then replace it right after they're done. I mean, I don't know what I don't know if it's soccer season over there in Europe. It probably is. It's probably always soccer season. But I hope it doesn't take somebody losing their career for them to finally do something about it.
But this is the world. This is the world. I almost said this is America because that's the phrase in my head. But this is the world. This is the way that capitalistic world works. These are millionaires and huge billionaires, and they are never going to do anything for the general betterment of the sport or for the general betterment of people. They'll do what you make them. They'll do what you make them do, and they'll do what you enforce them doing or what you check them doing. So if the union's not negotiating it, if they don't have the smart enough guys in the room to say this is something that we're going to negotiate because it's important enough to us, then I'm gonna skip on this. I'm gonna have Chinese sweatshops all over the place. I'm gonna do anything you allow me to do if you're not going to police it. So that's a great
take. That is a great take.
Obviously, don't have the right people in the room because they can't even get continuity across the stadiums here in the U.S. So, I mean, and they've been complaining about that for years without actually being able to do anything. And then changing stadiums overseas, you got to be kidding. Look at Washington. It's murdered so many lower bodies. And, they didn't do anything with that field forever. I mean, you look at a guy like RG3, probably the best example of that field just destroying someone's career.
Right. Well, I like the way you guys hopped on that rant. The only thing I'll say about the Jacksonville situation, the Jacksonville Jaguars should be thankful to London because that's how they pay their bills when you look at the bottom line. Because that's
no. That's not a joke. That's a real thing. Yeah.
Well, I know it isn't a joke. Let me finish. Okay. You're right. It isn't a joke. The Jacksonville Jaguars' existence depends on those London games. As far as the Brazil game, the only two things I'm going to say about the thing is, number one, Jordan Love should be thankful that his injury was a result of a football play, even though it was on a rotten field anyways. And he's only been about 4 to 6 games at the most. Although, and ironically, it's just too bad on the back end. But no, listen, Travis and I know the Jacksonville situation really, really well. So when you put it all in perspective,
and I'm a money guy. And the Jaguars, each of those London games counts as like a game and a half in the United States.
Oh, no,
and I'm not saying that's for Jacksonville. I'm saying for another franchise. Like, they make so much money in London that it's easily worthwhile. And when they can make that same amount of money on an away game, yay, man! You got to do that. Like, I'm sorry. And then their owner owns the stadium over there.
All right, so here's the only thing that was laughable about the game. Okay, what an idiot I am. Okay, I'm thinking none of the teams are allowed to wear green, right? Give me a break. The only one that wasn't allowed to wear green was the Philadelphia Eagles. How on earth can you go to Brazil and at least you got the Green Bay Packers wearing the Green Bay Packers traditional uniform? Either I'm colorblind, and that's why I wore green, just to make this point tonight. Okay, the Green Bay Packers got to wear their regular jerseys, and the Philadelphia Eagles got to wear whatever the heck they wore. In the end, I still am trying to figure out the nature of this Brazil game because it doesn't make any sense. The only thing I can guarantee about this game is my wife went out there and subscribed to Peacock so she could watch it, and she did it the morning of. So with that said, as we get ready to wrap up the broadcast here, everybody has an opportunity to let everybody get a hold of themselves. Candy, go ahead, give us a quick station break about as fast as I talk, and everybody gets to do it so that everybody gets out of here on time. Go ahead, Can.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do so. Share us with all your friends. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Go to, we published a book back in November. It's called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There is also a link to our website. On our website, you can also buy store merchandise there. Any place you go, anytime you want to go to listen to our podcast, you can go to iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Monday nights, Fire Up Florida talks about hockey. Then we talk baseball. Tonight is football. Wednesday is Sports Exchange. Thursday night is Fire Up. You never know what's going to be on those two shows, so tune in next time to find out. And Scott is going to be revamping and starting back up on nofilter.net, the Motor City Madmouse show. So stay tuned. Okay, back to you, Scott.
Yeah, let me give you a little information about the Motor City Madmouse show real quick. George Eichhorn and I are going to begin revamping it beginning tomorrow. It's be George and I doing this on our own, and we'll see how it works. No Filter is a good platform. We're just trying to get it worked out. Coach, I know you want to watch the debate, so since you have the easiest social media, go ahead and do that. Then you can skate out of here. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. You guys can find me here on Tuesdays with Bo on Coach's Corner on Wednesdays. That's over on Roku. And social media-wise, LinkedIn is it, buddy. That's it. It's been a great show. Appreciate it.
We knew it'd be easy for you. That's why I started with you to begin with. And I enjoy your rants. I had to make sure we find a way. And I'm glad we all jumped on the same boat here to talk about the same thing. But, like Travis knows me real well, the Jaguars situation is what it is. Their season and their profitability was simply dependent upon those London games. And they may need more of them until they get the final product done in Jacksonville. Coach, go ahead and enjoy the debates, and you and I will be in touch tomorrow. Okay.
Appreciate you guys. Take care, man.
Yep. Great job, pal. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Travis, let everybody know how they get a hold of it. And thanks a lot, Brother Freebird, for your kind words. And Just Fans shout out from Houston. What's up, Bo? You can answer that question after Travis gets done.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com. Obviously, if you're listening here, you can find me every Tuesday inside the Pigskin and the Duval Dive podcast, a Jaguars podcast. That is every Wednesday at 7:30. As always, man, thank you for having me.
And for everybody, I'll give you a Cliff Notes version. If you remember anything I say tonight, hopefully you remember some or replay it. But here's the deal. Okay, we're on YouTube, iHeartRadio, and you can find us on Spotify and Apple. So you have three. There's a million other audio ways. We're just trying to give you the big three. Yeah, I'm from the auto industry anyway, so we always find a way to get three. There's probably bigger ones than that anyway. And you got YouTube, so you'll find us. No big deal. All right, with that said, Mel, go ahead.
Find me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr., Facebook, LinkedIn, all the social media. And then you can follow what we have going on here down here in Georgia and also in Michigan for the youth at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Okay, very good. And also a shout out to everybody in the chat room. You guys are very great tonight. We appreciate you guys, gals, whatever. Everybody in the chat room, you were awesome, baby, as Dick Vitale would say, but I can't really go to a higher voice because I really don't have it no more. All right, with that said, go ahead, Bo. Let them know how they can find Bo.
Yeah, so you can find me on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo and on YouTube at Football-Talk. Thanks for everybody that chimed in from there. And so other than that, you can find me here on Tuesdays and on Roku TV 5 days a week.
Well done. All right, guys. Proud of every one of you. Then again, what's new? So what can I say? With that said, we're done. What's that, Travis?
Oh, no, I was just saying, though, this is Jake Tapper of CNN. You guys have a great night.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he threw a curveball at me. I didn't know he knew anything about baseball until he threw a curveball at me. Great stuff, Travis. I didn't see that one coming, but I got it before you pulled it. All right. So with that said, great job, everybody. And we will see you next week on Tuesday night. We'll have a little bit more time to cover more ground, but thankfully we were able to get to what we did. We covered what we felt was necessary in the shorter period of time. Good night, everybody. See you next Tuesday night. Same time, same station. Well, maybe same time, same station if they want to do it earlier. And get ready for another episode of Inside the Pigskin from the Motor City Madmouth. Good night, everybody.